The earth is already warm before the sun. He crouches alone on the dark plain and lifts a fistful of it, dry as ash. The wind takes the dust from his open hand and carries it east. He watches where it goes. He does not look at the two armies sleeping in the dark. He looks at the wind. This is Hannibal Barca at Cannae on the 2nd of August, 216 BC. By the time the sun sets, the largest army Rome has ever raised will be gone. 80,000 men swallowed on open ground by half their number. He is 30 years old and he is about to win the most perfect battle in history. It will not be enough. Everything you have been told about this day is incomplete. Today, we decode the real one. 2 years before this morning, Hannibal crossed the Alps into Italy. He has beaten Rome twice already, at the Trebia and at Lake Trasimene. Rome answered the only way it knew. It built the largest army in its history. Across this plain stand roughly 80,000 Romans. Hannibal has perhaps 50,000 men. 8 legions, double the normal consular army, have been raised to crush him. But that size is split under a divided command. 2 consuls who take turns leading on alternate days, and they do not agree on how to fight. The ground is flat and open, beside the brown ribbon of the Aufidus River. Hannibal chose it. He did not choose it for cover or for height. He chose it for the wind. Every summer afternoon, a hot southeast wind, the Volturnus, rises off the dry plain and drives the loose dust before it, always in one direction. A Roman general would call this ground worthless. No hill to hold, no forest to hide in, no river to anchor a flank, just heat and dust, and the room for a huge army to spread out and use its weight. That is exactly why he is here. And on that plain, before the sun is even up, one man is already awake, reading the wind. The camp smells of animals and leather and old smoke. Mules shift on their tethers. Somewhere, a smith taps cold bronze into shape. The air is thick with the breath of 50,000 men and their beasts, packed close on a plain that will be a graveyard by dark. Hannibal moves among them on foot. He does not eat apart, served on silver in a commander's tent. He takes the same hard barley ration as the men in the line, and he eats it standing, the way they do. The bread is dense and dry, and tastes faintly of the smoke that baked it. This is not theater. For 15 years, his army has held together across mountains and winters and foreign ground. And one reason is this: the men have watched him share the cold, the hunger, the long marches. They will do today what he asks. Beside the horse lines stands Maharbal, who commands the Numidian cavalry. He is sharp and fast and impatient, the finest horseman in the army and the most eager to use it. He wants to know the plan. He wants to ride. Hannibal gives him part of it and holds the rest. The light begins to come up over the Aufidus. Gray, then the first hard gold. Out across the open ground, the Roman lines are already forming, a dark mass thickening by the minute, and Hannibal begins to place his men. To anyone watching, it looks like the arrangement of a man who wants to lose. The sun climbs, and the bronze begins to bite. A helmet that was cool at dawn is now hot to the touch, and the men feel the metal warming against their scalps. The dry ground gives off a fine dust under 10,000 shifting feet. It hangs in the air, waiting. Hannibal sets his line against every rule a Roman would know. His weakest troops, the Gauls and Spaniards, he places in the center. Worse than that, he pushes that center forward, bowing it outward toward the enemy like the back of a curve. His best men, the hardened African veterans, he holds back on the wings, level and quiet. The cavalry he massed heavy on the flanks, Maharbal and the Numidians on one side, the heavy horse on the other. Read from above, it is a crescent, the thinnest part aimed straight at the Roman center. It looks like a mistake. It looks like a weak commander who has put his worst soldiers where the blow will land hardest. Across the field, the Romans see exactly that, and they do what a confident, eager command does when it sees a soft center and has the numbers to break it. Varro, the consul leading today, packs his vast force into a deep column and aims it at the bulge, meaning to punch straight through and split the Carthaginian army in two. It is the obvious move. It is the move Hannibal has built the whole morning to invite. The Romans push into the center gives way, and that is exactly what he wanted. If you are still with me this far in, take a second and hit subscribe, because what you are about to watch is a line collapsing on purpose. Not a blunder, not a lucky break, but a maneuver so precise that 22 centuries later it is still taught by name at West Point. And almost everything you have been told about why this man won is wrong. I want to make sure you see the real reason. The Roman column drives deeper. To the men inside it, this feels like victory. They are pushing the enemy back step by step, exactly as planned. They do not understand that the giving way is controlled, that the Carthaginian center is retreating in order, not breaking, folding back into the shallow bowl it was always meant to become. The crescent that bulged outward at dawn now caves slowly inward. The vast Roman force presses forward into the hollow, and the deeper it goes, the tighter it packs. Men in the middle can no longer raise their arms. 80,000 soldiers compress into a mass that cannot maneuver, cannot see, cannot do anything but push. Then the trap closes. On the flanks, the cavalry has already shattered the Roman horse. Maharbal and the Numidians sweep all the way around the back and seal it shut. The African veterans on the wings, fresh and waiting all morning, turn inward from both sides. The Romans are now surrounded on open ground, on a flat plain with no hill to break for, no forest to scatter into. And the wind he read at dawn arrives. The Volturnus rises off the dry plain and drives the churned dust straight into the Roman faces. They cannot see the men killing them. The afternoon goes white and blind and choking. The thing Hannibal noticed in the dark, the drift of grit from his open hand, is now the fog inside which the largest army Rome has ever raised is being unmade. By the time the dust begins to settle, that army has simply ceased to exist. And Hannibal feels something that is not triumph. The field at dusk is quiet in a way that is hard to hold in the mind. This morning, 130,000 men stood on this plain. Now the wind is dying, the dust is settling, and the loudest sound is the wind itself, moving over ground that has gone still. Somewhere near 50,000 Romans lie where they were trapped. It is among the deadliest single days the world will ever record. Hannibal walks the field. He is victorious. He is undefeated. He has just done what no commander before or since has done so completely. Maharbal comes to him, still hot from the saddle, and urges him to ride through the night and take Rome itself while the Republic is on its knees. The city is days away. The road is open. Strike now and the war ends. Hannibal says no. He knows what Maharbal does not yet feel. A battle is not a war. He has 50,000 tired men and no siege train, and Rome behind its walls is a different problem than Rome on an open plain. Somewhere under the cold arithmetic is the boy who once swore an oath to his father, a hatred carried across the Alps. And Maharbal, turning his horse away, says the thing history will remember, that Hannibal knows how to win a victory, but not how to use one. He has just won the most perfect battle in history, and almost everything you have been taught about how and about who he really was is wrong. Decoded 1. The battle that became a verb. Here is what actually happened on that plain, and why generals still study it. Hannibal didn't win by being stronger. He won by being patient. He put his weakest troops in the center and let them give ground on purpose, slowly, drawing the huge Roman army deeper and deeper into a pocket. While the Romans pushed forward, certain they were winning, his cavalry destroyed their horse on the flanks and swung around behind them. Then his best troops, waiting on the wings, folded inward. A larger army was swallowed whole by a smaller one. It's called a double envelopment, and it's the hardest thing to pull off in warfare. Cannae became the textbook case. It's still taught at West Point. Schlieffen built a whole German war plan around it, and Eisenhower's planners talked about achieving a Cannae. One August morning in 216 BC became permanent military doctrine. Decoded 2. There were no elephants. Now picture Hannibal in your head. You're probably seeing elephants, a line of war elephants thundering across a battlefield. Here's the thing, at Cannae, there wasn't a single one. Hannibal did bring elephants over the Alps, 37 of them, 2 years earlier in 218 BC. Almost all of them died in the crossing and the brutal first winter in Italy. By the morning of his greatest victory, he had effectively none. The most perfect battle in history was won with infantry and cavalry and cold timing. The one image everyone attaches to Hannibal is missing from his masterpiece. Decoded 3. The civilization. Rome erased. And here's the biggest thing you've been told wrong. Not about the battle, about the man and where he came from. We remember Hannibal as a barbarian, an exotic outsider with elephants, an enemy of civilization. He was the opposite of that. Hannibal came from Carthage, and Carthage was a superpower, a wealthy, literate, seafaring civilization with advanced agriculture, sophisticated navigation, and a written constitution that Aristotle himself praised. Hannibal was multilingual and educated in Greek. Even Roman historians, his enemies, ranked him among the greatest military minds who ever lived. So why don't we know any of this? Because almost everything we have about Carthage was written by Rome. And Rome didn't just defeat Carthage, Rome erased it. They burned the city, scattered the people, and destroyed the records. History is written by the victors is usually a figure of speech. Here, it is literally true. The barbarian with elephants isn't history. It's the slander left behind by the people who made sure no one else could tell the story. The wind is dying now. The dust he lifted from his open hand before the sun came up has done its work, and it falls slowly back to the ground, settling over a field too vast and too quiet to take in. Hannibal stands alone on the darkening plain, victorious, undefeated, and already aware, somewhere beneath the cold arithmetic, that none of it will be enough. 22 centuries from now, his city will be gone, its harbors silted over, its libraries burned, its story written by the men who destroyed it. But on this one summer evening, he gave the world a single, perfect idea. Rome refused to surrender. 14 years later, Carthage was beaten, later still, erased. And yet every general since has dreamed of springing the trap he sprang today. Almost none ever have. That was the trade he made, the most flawless victory in history for a war he could never win.